Today we'll understand why everybody talks about the budget so much.
As far as India is concerned, generally it's like आमदनी अठ्ठन्नी खर्चा रुपया. Budget is a very vital indicator for the next 3 to 5 years.
Definitely.
अचानक से now government says that our dividend is taxable. It is going to have an impact on people like you and me. You can immediately guess which country I'm talking about. But they are dumping goods into our country.
Yes.
What can the budget do? Budget can say we are going to put an anti-dumping duty.
This episode is aimed to give you an insight on the upcoming union budget for 2021-22. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is all set to present the budget on 1st February and the stock market is abuzz. Today we'll understand why everybody talks about the budget so much. For ordinary souls like me, it sounds like some other language. But to speak or understand that language, we have an expert interpreter, if I can call her that. Let's welcome Rachna Ranade. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thanks for having me on the show. Thanks a lot.
Now, before we begin, let me tell you a fun fact here. India's first complete union budget was presented in 1860 by James Wilson, founder of present-day Standard Chartered Bank and The Economist magazine. Union budgets in India have a history of 161 years. So, ma'am, what is a union budget and why should we be bothered about that?
Okay, to simplify this question, I feel that everyone knows that every company has certain financial statements wherein they present their income and their expenses. Now you can imagine, instead of a company, now we have India. India presents its income, India presents its expenditure. So that is nothing but the budget. So what happens in a budget is that you might have seen this in the newspaper as well, where a typical graphic is given that where does the rupee come from and where does the rupee go. So that is nothing but a budget which is like an official statement and which tells us about what is the state of economy for our entire country, right? But I would also like to add that especially in India, what happens is that we have a quasi-federal system of government. So we have a union budget which is about the entire country and we also have a state budget. So every state also prepares their own budget. So I hope you have understood how the entire budget gives us a sense of direction of the future growth in the economy.
Wow, that's a lot of heavy lifting, economically speaking. Did you know that Nirmala Sitharaman broke former Finance Minister Jaswant Singh's record for the longest budget speech ever delivered, clocking in 4 extra minutes at 2 hours and 17 minutes? In terms of words, Dr. Manmohan Singh presented the longest budget speech in 1991, comprising of 18,650 words. And we all know that was the most path-breaking budget in India's history. So Rachna, budget is associated with a lot of data, numbers and information. You spoke about expenditure. How do we know about the government spending for the citizens? Is there a specific section that highlights it?
Absolutely. There is a specific section, but before I go on to that section, let's just understand that a union budget is an essential tool for allocation of resources in an economy. So basically a budget will have two parts. One will be like a capital budget and one will be like the revenue budget. Okay, so I'll also give you examples so that we understand these terms very easily. So if I talk about the government expenditure, especially about the capital budget, now capital budget will have all the capital expenditure elements in that. So all those are from the finance background. They very much call it as a capex. Now what is this capex? It is like expenditure on infrastructure, expenditure on airports, roads, bridges, education, healthcare. All these are intended towards creation of assets. So if we understand that if let us say government wants to build a highway, government wants to build an airport, so obviously what will happen? An asset is going to be created, but who is going to create that? It will be a company. So basically you can imagine that a contract will be given to a company. The moment a contract is given to the company, there will be more and more business for the company, more and more jobs will be created for more and more people. So all in all I can say that more and more capital expenditure will lead to more and more business, will lead to more and more job creation, and all in all, people will have a positive sentiment that yes, government is doing something for us. But if I'm talking about the revenue expenditure on the other side, which is the second part of the budget. So for revenue expenditure, what happens is there is no asset creation. It will be like paying salaries of government employees. It will be like giving subsidies to various poor sections of the society. So what happens here? Is there any asset being built when salaries are being paid? Answer is no. So if there is a lot of revenue expenditure, then the stock market gets a little bit worried. So always remember, as a thumb rule for the stock market, more capital expenditure is taken positively, but more revenue expenditure is never taken positively by the stock market.
Now, you mentioned where the rupee comes from and where it goes. We all know that government earns income through taxation. Are there any other ways of earning income as well?
So let me answer your question. Like we have two parts for expenditure, like one is a capital expenditure and one is like a revenue expenditure. Similarly, if I talk about receipts, there are two types of receipts. One is like a capital receipt, one is like a revenue receipt. Just to give you a simple meaning of these two, capital receipts are not recurring in nature. They'll be like once in a while. And if I'm talking about revenue expenses, they'll be recurring in nature. Every single month or every single time frame they'll occur. So if I'm talking about capital receipts, simple examples of that can be sale of assets.
Yeah.
Sale of assets, like it can be divestment in public sector undertaking. So the example I would like to give is like that of IRFC, or there can be so many examples. It can be Coal India or whatever. So when government sells their stake in these companies, then what happens? Government generates income. That is an example of a capital receipt. One more example can be like sale of telecom spectrum. Everyone knows that 5G thing is coming in. For that, whatever money government will receive, that will be like a capital receipt. It can also be licensing of mines, it can be borrowings from the Reserve Bank, or it can also be borrowings from the open market. Right. So all these are examples of capital receipts. But if I come to revenue receipts, these are like recurring receipts. So simplest example can be taxes on income. So we have to pay our advance taxes every quarter. So that can be an example of revenue income. Second can be like interest on investments. It can be dividends from public sector companies. So again, just to give you a quick example, I talked about Coal India right now. So if Coal India gives a dividend, who will earn the money? It will be Government of India, because Government of India also holds a lot of shares in Coal India. So it is like dividend income will also be a revenue receipt. They can also get income from GST, or it could be excise duty on non-GST items like alcohol, fuel, custom duty. So many more. All these are examples of what? Revenue receipts. Now there's a problem that if I talk about total expenditure versus total revenue, they never match. As far as India is concerned, generally it's like amdani attanni kharcha rupaya. So expenditure is generally on a higher side as compared to the revenue. And this gap of expenditure and revenue, that is nothing but fiscal deficit. Okay. So let's say expenditure is 100, but income is only 70. This 30 will be known as a fiscal deficit. And how does government bridge this gap? This gap can be bridged by either borrowing money or either by printing more money.
Yes. Oh, well, that is a lot of interesting stuff. Is it surprising that everybody in the stock market is looking for those budget documents after they're released? Now, did you know that the budget documents were printed only in English until 1955? From 1956 onwards, they were released in Hindi as well as in English. But here is the fun fact. For the first time in the history of the budgets, we will not have the documents in physical paper. The budget will be presented in an electronic form. That does not mean that the stock market pundits would not crunch numbers or pore over the documents. Rachna, why is it so important for the stock market?
So basically, the expenditures and investments outlined in a budget have a direct bearing on the stock market and on the macroeconomic factors. So anything which is announced in the budget, it's fun to watch stock markets on the budget day, especially on news channels, because news channels generally split their screen into two parts. In half screen, they'll show the budget, half screen, they'll show the stock market. So that's how we can correlate the impact of news on the stock market. So I'll just give you an example again. So if the economy is going through a lull, the government may relax taxation policies to boost the consumption that can spur economic growth. So let us say, I'll give you again an example. Like in the current scenario, let us say government relaxes the personal taxation. Automatically, people's spending power will be more. That's how the government directly impacts the normal spending of persons like you and me. But if I'm talking about periods of inflation, then government may hike income tax exemptions limits for the individuals as well. So budget basically plays a very essential role in the overall economic stability. So for businesses or industries, budget is a very vital indicator for the next 3 to 5 years. Well, this is mainly because government policies pertaining to tax breaks or financial aids, all these things are announced in the budget, and it basically stimulates the overall economic growth for the financial markets. And I feel that the more and more boosts the government gives, it is going to have an impact directly on the stock market. People will feel that more and more rally can come in, and all these expectations get built up.
Wow, that is a lot of work. The government action on income and expenditure can directly and indirectly affect everybody. For those who are not into finance, the budget usually means tax rates, things getting cheaper or expensive. Now, Rachna, how exactly does the budget affect individuals?
So let's understand how the taxation goes in India. So it's in India, we call it as a progressive tax regime. Now, what is a progressive tax regime? A person who earns less pays less taxes. A person who earns more pays more taxes. That is how the progressive tax regime goes. Now, how can a certain point in the budget impact a person? Let us understand. Let us say government introduces tax on dividend. So earlier, if you know, dividend was completely tax free. Then the government said, now we are going to impose tax on dividend. Now understand, a person like me, assume that I'm retired. Just for a minute, we can assume that I'm retired, and I'm earning my entire income from dividend.
Yeah.
Till the last year, assume it was tax free, and achanak se now government says that our dividend is taxable. Now, can I say directly it is going to have an impact on me, on my personal life? Absolutely yes. My disposable income is going to be less now.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one more example how it can impact. If I'm talking about long-term capital gains or short-term capital gains, everyone knows that till a certain time frame, long-term capital gain was also completely exempt. And then government said that we are going to charge on long-term capital gain as well. So again, if I'm talking about dividend or if I'm talking about long-term capital gains, the moment the government says that, okay, from now onwards it's going to be taxable, it is going to have an impact on people like you and me, where our disposable income is going to be less. Okay.
Definitely.
But what government wants is that finally government ko bhi uska ek kaam karna hai. They also have to earn something, then only they'll be able to spend. So they need to definitely do certain changes in the budget. I'll also talk about one more perspective in this entire scenario, not directly from the individual perspective, from a broader perspective, corporate perspective. The government is very clear that India is not a tax haven. India does not want to be like a Cayman Island or Mauritius, where people are routing their transactions through India, and just for the purpose of tax saving, they are doing certain kind of transactions. Government has taken a clear stand that we are not going to be like a tax saving haven. Okay, so we have talked about the individual perspective as well as the corporate perspective. How else can government change the life of people like you and me? By changing the custom duty, by changing the import duty. So for example, a country like, I need not tell the name also, you can immediately guess which country I'm talking about, but they are dumping goods into our country. Anything and everything comes from that country only, right? So then the government says, "Arey, we don't want to import products from that country." What can the budget do? Budget can say we are going to put an anti-dumping duty. So they'll hike the duty rates. The moment duty rates are hiked, those products are going to be more costlier in India, and that is how again lives of people like you and me can change. There can be a hike, unfortunately, in necessity goods as well. Simple example can be fuel. So if the import duty on fuel increases, and some other duties on fuel increases, finally we need petrol, we can't live without that, and that is the reason why again these things make headlines that petrol costs rises and all that. So that is also again how lives of people like you and me can change because of changes in budget.
Now here, so that pretty much sums up the first part of the Union Budget episode. Thank you, Rachna, for making it simple for ordinary souls like us. Knowing a little bit more can make a huge difference. You may now listen to the budget speech on 1st February with a lot more confidence. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. If you have any questions, do let us know in the comment section below. Like the video, share it with your friends.
You may consider subscribing Upstock's YouTube channel for more financial and engaging content.